Welcome back, guys, to Actually Anything. It's the podcast that's actually about anything. And today, I have my guest, JD. He's all the way from West Canada. So right now in New York, it's about 10 o'clock. And for you, it's 8, right?
8 o'clock, yeah. It's a couple hours difference.
Right,
you know,
right.
Not fully on the coast, or we'd be like LA time, 7 o'clock. So
yeah, that's actually crazy, like the difference.
Yeah.
So JD and I, we met each other on what was formerly known as Rumble, now known as Rizzle. It's a phone app. You get it on your phone. It's one of those new short video wave apps. You know, I've been trying to push it out there for the past like year and a half, and I think that's when we met about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. It's an interesting app. I mean, I ended up on that app mainly because they reached out to me and they sent me some emails and to be full disclosure, they paid me initially to be on the app to bring my audience with me, which I did, and it was a lot of change, a lot of stuff going on. I'm not on there so much anymore. I still have my account, but I don't post anywhere near as much as I initially did, and there's been a lot of changes, I guess, with the app. But I mean, it's like any new social media app or platform, or any platform for that matter. You get to extend your network, meet people, and that's kind of the important, the social part of social media is it doesn't matter where you meet these people. If you make a connection, like, here we are sitting doing a podcast together. And that's kind of the important thing, for me at the end of the day, is sort of the real life portion of social media and, sort of that business aspect as well. Right. So,
and that's why I like apps like Rizzle, because, they know who their audience is. They know who they should target, who they want on the app. And, because of that, we all go on it and we all have similar interests, more or less, to be able to just, do content and make it like that. So that's why we all get along like so well. And I consider a lot of people on the app, including you, decent friends now. And I hope we could all actually like meet up one day, and that'd be like awesome. I've been hoping for that for the longest time. It's just, right now with the whole virus thing, it's going to be harder to plan such things, but I know one day it's going to happen, and we're going to get that done. We're going to have that Rizzle meetup I've been talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, all those kind of things are good. Hopefully something like VidCon is probably a place for something like that to happen because you've got the, sort of broader sense and and I know that, I always want to call them Rumble because that's how I was introduced to them. But I know they're just up the road in San Francisco. I know that 2 years ago they were actually at VidCon. I was supposed to go, but didn't end up going. And I was supposed to meet up with them originally sort of there, many moons ago. But VidCon would be a good thing for that, because then you've got the broader media sense as well, right? And I mean,
right.
If you've ever been to VidCon, it's a nut house. It's it's completely crazy. And there's if you're into social media stuff or media platforms, or you're trying to carve out your niche on social media, it's a good place to meet other like-minded creators. And that's that's the beauty of social media platforms, is you get to meet, content creators with very similar, interests and ideas, and, sometimes different ideas, and you build community. Like I know locally here, we have meetups all the time. We'll have, 30, 40 people meet up that are all content creators in the city, and, just go do random, or just hang out, or, go to an arcade. I think the last time was what we went, or just go on things like photo walks, which is always fun, which I know you do from watching your Instagram, that you're hooked up with a lot of, photographers in your area, and you just go out and shoot, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And it all kind of starts from having the drive to just post and like, what's next? Like, what should I do differently, that maybe I haven't done in the past. So just recently, my friends and I, we were like, you know what, let's do something with fire, right? Let's burn something. Not to sound like a pyro, but we were like, you know what, fire comes out really nice in pictures if you do it properly.
Yeah.
And safely, of course. Now, my friend at first was like, yeah, let's just get like newspapers or something. I was like, you know what? It's a little boring. It's and newspapers black and white. It's not that interesting, right? So I said, let's get a bouquet of roses, if that's what you call it, right?
Yeah.
And it has about like 12 of them, and then we just bought lighter fluid, and then it was just all up from there. We just lit them, and they came out amazing. And I had my mask on. I looked like my friend said I looked like a Mortal Kombat character with the fire. It was mad funny. But yeah, they came out like amazing. It was one of my favorite shoots, and I want to do more stuff like that, like push myself, to my limit and to see like what we can do. VidCon, I wish we had some like that in New York, but New York in general is already a good place to meet people, regardless of what's really happening. There's just plenty of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, New York is a great place to if you're a creative. I mean, I go there. I'd say frequently when I have the opportunity to travel. So I mean, I've been there a fair few times, and it's always a great city. And I mean, it's crazy the opportunities that just happened. It's funny. One of the last few times that I went actually was Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
I flew in and I landed. I was there for the World Police and Fire Games. I used to fight professionally, so I trained boxers and kickboxers. So we had a few days beforehand because we landed and the hurricane just kind of came in. So New York, I mean, it was empty. So we were out on the streets of New York and there was not a soul in the streets, which is, kind of weird, right? Like, we're going to Times Square. There's nobody there. I imagine similar kind of maybe to COVID when things started really getting a little bit crazy. Those kind of things don't happen that often. And, you're glad that they don't, but, to the same extent, it's a unique experience. I mean, it felt very, post-apocalyptic and all that kind of stuff. And then, the community there as well. I'm a retired tattoo artist. So, I mean, I know a lot of tattooists in New York, so I'll always go there and we'll hang out, we'll tattoo, we'll do artwork, we'll do all sorts of stuff, or I'll do photos. I'll go to their studios. It's a great place. New York is such a great place for creatives, man. I'm actually envious that, you live right there. I mean, I would be in the city all the time,
Oh, I know, dude. It's literally the perfect spot. I like that you're no stranger to it either. That's pretty cool. I know it is unfortunate that we are kind of geographically far apart, but that's why one day we will do a great shoot together, and I know we could do a cool collab. Speaking about Times Square, so I went there a few months ago, and I specifically knew that there wasn't going to be many people. And I was surprised by how empty it actually was. I expected it to be pretty quiet, but not as empty as it was. And for Times Square, it was scary almost.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to think. And just everywhere on the billboards, instead of advertising, what they would usually be like just products or clothes or whatever movies. It was all COVID related stuff. And you really just felt like you were in an apocalypse.
Yeah. That's crazy. With Katrina, like everything was still kind of normal. It just, they shut down all the trains going in, and that's how the vast majority of people go in and out. The only people that we saw, which oddly enough, we were walking about and the cops stopped us. And they're like, hey, how did we get here? Like, I don't know, man. Like, we're just visiting. Like, we're just, touring around, seeing what we can find because the streets are empty and nothing's open. And, we're just trying to find, a deli that'll sell us a sandwich or something like that, man. Because it was, completely crazy. And, it's, like I said, I mean, it's an interesting opportunity because, you get to shoot those streets, and that's what I did. I shot the streets in New York completely empty, which, I love some of those shots because they're just, it's just empty, and you can't, you can pay to have that stuff happen. But, I don't have that kind of money to empty the streets of New York for, a couple photographs. You know what I mean?
Like you said, man, I'm glad you took advantage of that, because it rarely will happen again,
Yeah.
If you go into Times Square now, it's like nothing's happening. So it's
Oh,
kind of,
really?
yeah, which is actually kind of surprising. I guess people are just over it, They're just not
Yeah.
as worried anymore, which, maybe people have a right to not be as scared as they were in the beginning, but we still, are unsure about what's happening. And I think we might be letting our guard down a bit, and I'm afraid, like we've kind of been saying, who knows what's going to happen once it gets cold again,
Yeah. Yeah. Like anything, colds and flus, when winter comes and it forces people inside and close together, that's typically when they spread. But I felt for you guys. I mean, we've been fairly lucky here. I think we've maybe got as of today, I think we've got 1,400 cases. It's and for us that's sort of creeping up, which is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what you guys experienced initially in New
Yeah.
York. It's and granted, New York's a lot more compact. People are pushed together. Highly utilized transit system.
And
It's
stubborn too. Very stubborn.
yeah, and it's it's just interesting times. I'm sure we'll all come out on the other end a little bit wiser, a little bit better. All those kind of things. But it's scary because I don't know if you know anybody personally that's been sick. I have.
I do.
And it got scary. It got very real a couple times. And again, we don't have a ton of cases here, so it's
Good.
it's hopefully will stay that way. Yeah, it's funny because early on, my wife works in the hospital, and she was quite sick. So it was really bad respiratory and all that kind of stuff. She's good now, but I tell you, man, it was it was pretty freaky, and
Yeah.
it's always interesting when people, like if you spend a lot of time on the internet, which I'm sure you do, being in social media and stuff like that, when early on people are like, well, it's not as bad as you think. And then it's like, maybe, but like when it affects somebody close to you like that, and you see what they go through, it's like,
Right.
it's a bit of a rude awakening, right? Initially I thought it's like, it's probably just like a flu, and it's it's a little bit more severe than that, I think. But it's a crazy world. But that's her being a frontline worker, right? In the thick of it and early on, because they didn't know quite what they were dealing with, I guess, is kind of how it all went about.
At the end of the day, it's their job, and if they're willing to take that risk to help others, there's no greater honor. Honestly, they're the real heroes, man.
Yeah, it's I couldn't do it. I couldn't go to the hospital every day, man. And to be honest, as her significant other, I was I'm like, really, is like this job that important? Like, do you really want to go? Like, why don't you just call it quits? Like, hang up your hat. But you're a brave lady, so
I respect that, bro.
Yeah, so do I, because she's a lot braver than I am. I'll tell you, man.
Oh yeah, dude. When I'm getting like blood work, I don't even like seeing the side of my own blood. How could I be like a nurse?
Yeah.
I hate the hospital, man. Even if I'm there for something that's very minor, for some whatever reason, I just don't like being there. It's just depressing, and it's just miserable.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to Rizzle for a quick second, because I remember
for sure, man.
You were telling me you were on it many years ago. So I used to think it was only about a year old, and it started as Rumble, but supposedly it had a few names before that.
Yeah, it was U14 flops, and it was Urban AMA, and it's kind of gone through a few different things. I mean, that's honestly is not uncommon for platforms like TikTok, for example, which I guess would be sort of the comparison app, because they're very similar in a lot of ways. Before it was TikTok, it was Musically, right?
Right.
So and then it switched to TikTok, and then that's when it sort of exploded, right? So I kind of get it, what they're doing. It's it's the same thing. It's like Byte used to be Vine. It's these guys change it up all the time. They just sort of want to reinvent the wheel. And I get it because, social media platforms have a lifespan. Some take off, some don't. Like, you look at things like Vero, which was, kind of touted as an Instagram, Facebook thing. And Facebook killed it because they released a bunch of fake news in regards to the owner of it. And it kind of, people were saying, oh, look, take a look at their agreement, which was no different than Facebook's, but it just kind of killed it, and of course, I mean, it's big business. Facebook, it's
Mark
Zuckerberg's, rich.
So I didn't know this until like a few months ago, but apparently he's like one of the richest people on earth.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, I mean, Rumble was an urban AMA. It was U14 flops. Now it's
pretty weird.
It's Rizzle. It's kind of one of those things. And I watched your podcast with Ricky Valero, and I think it's interesting what you said. You indicated that, you're always trying to tell people it's Rumble, it's Rumble, it's Rumble. And then all of a sudden there was contests, and then it was Rizzle, and there was no warning. The logos changed, everything like that. And it just kind of flips everything upside down, and, sort of no warning, no reason given, anything like that. It's just, hey, we're this now, And I know I see stuff on Twitter all the time, like they're in the venture capital stage again, so I mean, they're several years in, and again, venture capital, which, to me is a little bit worrisome. It's not like the first new platform I've been involved in. I used to put videos up on a platform called VidMe, which was a video site comparable to YouTube, trying to do that thing, and eventually they went bust, and they were great people, but they communicated really well, with me in particular. And again, for me, there's guys that I met on VidMe that I still associate with now, that are, two of the guys are on Twitch, one's on YouTube, and, great guys. And again, like social media platforms for me are about connections. It's just an interesting business, and that's, sometimes I think the hard part, for people. I think a lot of people want to get internet famous really fast, and they see it as a quick track. And I can honestly say, like, if you're lucky, you might quick track it, you might become a celebrity overnight. But for the vast majority of people, it's work. And, it's tough work to get to a point, but I mean, you have to be business smart. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. For example, you can't put all your, eggs in TikTok, because you never know. Next thing you know, they're banned in India, right? So if you're an Indian TikToker, all of a sudden you're out of a platform. And I know that Trump was talking about banning TikTok because they had some concerns, with the Chinese ownership and so on. So same thing. Like, I mean, if you're an American TikToker and there's a lot that have huge followings, if it all of a sudden shuts down and that's your only social media presence, you're toast, right? So, same thing. I know, I've had conversations with a couple people on Rumble. It's like, well, this is my thing. This is what I'm doing, because they're getting, lots of views or lots of followers or all those kind of things. But it's like, if it doesn't translate into anything else, if you're not able to, sort of transfer those audiences between platforms, in the end, it's not going to do you any good, and, for me, honestly, like, because they're in venture capital form, I don't put a lot of effort there because, it's not even viable for them as a business yet, because they need investors in order to run. Like, advertisers don't even pay for that, whereas somewhere like YouTube, it's, it's really, honest to God, it's easy. I started in action sport films years and years ago. I had my own production company. I did mountain bike films. We had to go out, find sponsors, get money, buy film equipment that was really, really expensive, rent editing suites to edit this. The only way to release stuff was like direct to DVD. So, I mean, or put it out in a theater, which is a totally different ball game, and do those kind of things. Now it's like, if you get 1,000 subscribers and 2,400 watch hours, it's like, hey, we'll find the advertisers and we'll give you half the money. It's like, that's the easiest thing ever. And you just focus on content creation, right? But a lot of people struggle with that as well. And again, it goes sort of back to the fact that a lot of people don't realize how much work creation is, especially on an ongoing basis. And I mean, I'm sure you've heard stories about YouTube burnout and all that kind of stuff. It's because people get caught up and then they're in this machine, and it's like, if I stop, I'm going to get left behind, and there's, anxiety, and it's kind of an interesting business. Like, I mean, I'm a photographer. I work in the entertainment business. So there's some similarities in there, but I mean, you can see like any of these creative kind of endeavors, whether it's entertainment, music, social media, television, film, movies, it can eat you up and spit it out if you don't manage yourself properly. And it's a scary thing. And, it scares me when I see people put all their energy and effort into one thing. Saying, it's going to pay off, it's going to pay off, it's going to pay off. And then just nothing. It's an interesting thing.
That's one of my worst fears, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm putting a lot of work into, trying to make content, and, okay, I'm not doing my best. I could be putting out way more stuff than I am, but I guess maybe that has something to do with the fact that I have my doubts, and I think it's not going to work all the time. So I'm not as, I'm not passionate like I used to be, or some days I am, some days are my off days, and I just don't know what to do. And that's kind of why I don't really make vlogs as much as I used to, but I like making the podcast. I think, especially during times like this, it's good to just talk and just let everything out and just share what's going on and how your lives are doing, and just rant, and that's why I've been more focused on like the podcast than anything else in terms of putting out content, and Rizzle too. And, like you said, also, if you're going to be making content, that it's good to know what you're doing on every app. You just sticking to one app is not going to be enough. And that's why I tell almost everybody I know, if they're even if it's just Instagram that they're on, I tell everybody, like, make a YouTube channel. You never know what you could be good at, and YouTube is definitely one of the biggest platforms, if not the biggest, right? So that's why, like, if people are interested in being a content creator, then I feel like you have to have YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You've kind of got to do everything is to some degree. And I mean, obviously you're going to hang your hat where you get the most results. But it's always good to cross promote, and say stuff like I promote, every once in a while I go on TikTok. I'm like, hey, go to my YouTube. Like, if somebody happens to do that, that's great. I do the same thing on Rizzle. I do the same thing on Instagram. I do the same thing on Facebook. I do the same thing on YouTube, and even that, like my YouTube, I actually, with some of my content, because I do tutorials on video editing and, motion graphics and all those kind of things. And I will actually give away free plugins for Final Cut Pro as, part of I'll show you how to make it. Oh, cool. And then I'll show you how to use it in Final Cut Pro. And then I'm like, hey, if you don't want to be bothered doing all that work and actually learning something, and you just want the plugin because you can work it into your video edit, then here's the plugin here. Go to my website. You just have to give me your email address, join this mailing list, and I'll send it to you for free. I don't even ask for money for it. It's and some of these things are, like glitch titles. So, some companies charge you $50. So it's like, here you go. But then I've got your email. So now we got a direct contact. So if YouTube, dies tomorrow or something weird happens, at least I have, several thousand people on email and say, hey, you used to watch my videos here. Now I'm here. If you're still interested in my content, here's the videos, here's my blog it's all direct, and I control that web space. So, I mean, that's your ultimate thing. I think as a creator is to own the space, right? Because, platform like Rizzle, they'll change their name. You have no control over that. They might say you're not allowed to do, and YouTube does this all the time. It's like, you're not allowed to make contents with guns or talk about, bad events. Like initially with COVID on YouTube, you couldn't talk about it because they just strike down your video because they didn't want misinformation. Now they've, sort of eased up because they realize it's a reality. You don't have that censorship, available. And I understand why platforms do it. It's because they're protecting themselves legally and a whole bunch of other things. But with your own space, you can do whatever you want. You can embed video and do your own video and talk, you can go, full info wars if you really want to go that crazy. It doesn't matter, right? If it's because it's your space, and that's,
you can be whoever you want. And it's you have to take advantage of these things, man. It's the time. And I regret not making a channel like years ago when YouTube was kind of just starting. Even if my videos were fucking dumb, like stupid, at least like it was something, and that's why a lot of people that started like long ago have like huge subscriber counts now, and that, I like what you do too. Some of those tutorial YouTube channels have some of the biggest following,
Yeah.
and that's how you get followers too, like just educating people.
Yeah.
I've learned more on YouTube than like most other places, like honestly. Sometimes
it's a great source of information. It's you can learn everything. It's the first place I look when I don't know something.
Yeah.
It's like I break something, like, can I fix this? It's like YouTube, can I fix this? And lo and behold, somebody's done it for you, right?
Is rash on my arm like contagious? Am I gonna die? Like
exactly.
Medical things like, is this good? Am I gonna? Oh God, yeah. It's yeah. That's what the internet is, man, and it's changed a lot. For good and for bad, it depends on like how you look at it. JD and I, we always talk about the algorithm on Rizzle, and it's kind of confusing, like for instance, JD was talking about how he barely makes videos anymore, but one of his latest videos got like over like 30,000 views, right? And you were kind of like surprised by that. Which
I okay, I'm gonna say some things that might upset some people now.
Hey man, if they can't take it,
it's well, and I'm a guy that says it how it is. To me, all the numbers and all the followers and the vast majority of it on Rizzle, I think, is bullshit. It's hopefully I could swear here. It's a house of cards, and I'll explain why. I guess is that anybody who's on that platform, if you look, you generally see the same people all the time. You don't see a ton of people. You just kind of see the same people. There's a lot of people on there that are very active, and they get the views and stuff like that. But the big thing is the views are generated when you open the app. The first thing you get is a video, which has always annoyed me because, I see somebody and it's like, I don't even want to see this. Like, I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care, and it's like I'm flipping to whatever and I'm going to my notifications or who I'm following to go see their stuff.
Right.
But if I'm on there for half a second, they get a view. Or if I'm in a curious stage and I flip down like 10 videos, 10 people get views. But the honest truth of the matter is I never cared or gave a rat's ass about your content, but you got views for it and that makes you feel good. But the problem is if there's 1,000 people on there and everybody does that, next thing your video's got 1,000 and it's pushing it to more people. And there's 2,000 views that weren't really views. They were just auto launch. So, I mean, it's garbage. And I mean, to be honest, going back on, I just kind of threw on a few videos. I got a ton of followers in like no time. And they're all like, no videos, no profile picture, no nothing. So it's like, well, what's the deal? Right.
Yeah, it's not like YouTube where you have to go basically out of your way to be like, oh, I'm going to click on this video. I want to watch that. I have to click on. Like Rizzle has the homepage, and you're scrolling, and it's giving someone a view, like you said. But even if you're not watching the whole thing, which most people probably aren't, it still counts as a whole view, and that could mean a lot, like in terms of numbers, right? It's just, that's why, like even JD and I were saying, guys, are they even real people? They don't have profile pictures, like JD just said. It's weird.
So like my latest video, I tagged you in it, and I tagged Dank Days in it, You guys both respond to me. And there was 30,000 views. And who else responded to me? Nobody. So
Really?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. 2 responses out of 30,000 views. So, again, it's like, I take it with a grain of salt. Like, did 30,000 people watch it? I don't think so. Maybe they did. Like, and again, I was being a little critical of the app in that post because they were talking about pay and all those kind of things. And I was just kind of saying exactly what I thought, and kind of what I'm reiterating here is that I don't believe the views are necessarily there. And I think for Rumble, if anybody from Rumble ever watches, or Rizzle ever watches, it's going to call it Rumble all night, man.
No, that's okay. I still call it Rumble.
Yeah. I saw you still had the hat, which is great.
You do. Yeah. Yep, right here.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm telling you, I was saying it. Because you saw it with Ricky.
Yeah.
I was saying to him, dude, like, if this app gets big, this will be worth something, man. On eBay, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't sell the hat, but the shirt, Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's vintage. It's cool to have, right?
Exactly. That's why
regardless of what how the story ends, whether it blows up or whether it explodes into a million pieces, it's still a piece, And like I said, you've made real connection. And that's really all that matters out of the whole thing, right? So I mean, you'll move forward with these people, and it's like, you can maybe you go to VidCon and you wear your Rumble T-shirt, and it's like, hey, man, look at that. That's vintage, man.
They're gonna know me more by my dog, though, probably.
Yeah, well, Patty's a star, man. Patty's a star. Especially when you had her, doing the Spider-Man voices and stuff like that.
Oh, that was hilarious. I gotta do more of that. I've been slacking. It's not that it's not hard, but it takes time because I have to think of dialogue. Obviously he doesn't fucking talk, right? Oh, oops, I gave it away. Yeah, but I had so much fun doing it. Like, people were really loving that, just pretending I was talking to him, and I had fun doing it. So that's why I have to get back on that,
Yeah, I think that's the key for anything that you do social media wise anyways, is that you really have to kind of enjoy what you're doing in the first place, because if you don't make it and you're not getting paid, if you're enjoying it and that's what you like doing and you like the process and all that kind of stuff, which most creatives do, you're not losing anything. Like, you're just doing what you love to do. It's like building model planes or, playing video games or whatever. It's what you're doing to occupy your time. There's nothing wrong with that. And I would say creating is probably good because, in a lot of ways, versus some other things, because, you're really thinking about stuff and coming up with stuff. And that's, that's a skill and a talent that not a lot of people necessarily have. Right. So.
Yeah. For instance, like with a podcast, it seems like everyone and their grandma is doing it now. Supposedly, I just found out Lil Wayne has a podcast now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just the most random people you wouldn't think, like celebrities are starting them now, and just people in general. Now, it may seem like a lot of people are doing them, but at the same time, it's not necessarily true. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like an easy thing to just say, oh, hey, I'm going to start up a podcast. I don't really know any personal friends that have their own, maybe like one or two, but it's definitely still a unique thing, I feel like, to do, like, in a way, okay, maybe a lot of people are doing them, but it still takes, like you said, like, skill just to have it going and make it what it is. This is only the 10th episode, and I wish I could have done a lot more. I should have. But it's just the beginning, and it's I don't consider this a great podcast, but it's growing, and one day I'm gonna try to have better equipment and like maybe a little studio, and we'll see where it goes. But the fact that friends are willing to come on, and like it makes me very happy that people are down to just chill and talk and help me do this, like do what I love, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I started my first podcast 8 years ago.
Wow.
It was myself and a guy that I worked with at the tattoo studio that I worked at. We would just go from the tattoo studio to his apartment. We'd hang out. He would get blazing high, talk about the weirdest stuff on the planet. And I'm a straight razor guy. I don't drink. I don't smoke really. And
I respect
you
that
know
though.
it's you know I we were just sitting there, we talking. I'm just like, hey man, we should just do a podcast. And like, this is before everybody was doing podcasts, and
Right.
we're like, man,
Well,
we should just do a podcast and record this shit for science. That's what we'll do. And he's like, hell yeah. So that's what we did. And the podcast called Lloyd and JD. We haven't been recording since COVID started. Lloyd's he's having his second kid, so I mean, obviously, there's the health of his wife and all that kind of stuff involved, and just kind of moving back and forth from the studio. So we just kind of didn't want to do it remotely. We just figured we'd do that, and we've done it pretty much. We did it, bi-weekly for like 3-4 years, and then we once a week, and it was just crazy, and we just had fun. And we used to have like all sorts of musical guests on there because I work in the music industry, and we talk about anything was fair game, and it's just fun. Like I miss it a lot because it's fun. It's and it's crazy. And Lloyd, my co-host, is the biggest thing in Russia. We have so many Russian fans because they love Lloyd. Lloyd used to do these live streams on Periscope, and Russians love him for whatever reason. So like, we're huge in Russia,
wow.
huge in Japan, huge in Brazil. Everybody hates us in Canada. It's great,
Of all places too, like
yeah, it's whatever, but the great thing is you can always expand. It's that was the first one, and then I went on, I did a photography podcast as well that I do with Dave, and then he had his baby, so we're on hiatus currently. I do One Killer Story, where I sit down with all sorts of people, mostly musicians that I know, guys like Scott Bennett from the Path Less Traveled, or King Dylan, the rapper. We were kind of the first 2 episodes before COVID hit, and then we had to shut that down. And, I used to do the daily on a daily basis and have guests on there. And then I do the Dude Cast with Nick Morrison, who's another musician. So, it's there's always things to do. And that's what I mean creatively. Like, I mean, and again, it's not putting all your eggs in one basket. Like, I mean, what is that? If I rattle off 5 podcasts that I do normally, it's,
Yeah, well, I think that's very innovative of you, man. I'm struggling just to more or less get this one up and going, and you're doing about 5, like, or were at least, and that's pretty sick. I was talking to Ricky too. He does a lot also. Like, he has some for I think he has one for sports, one for talking about movies and stuff. And who knows? Maybe I'll make another one eventually. But at the same time, I like covering everything in this podcast. Actually, anything. I think it's the name fits, and like I originally I was gonna do this podcast with a friend, and it was gonna be me and him, and we were gonna have friends on, or just us two talking. And it was called Wake Up Staten Island at first, before it became what it is now. And it just never really worked out. We never even filmed an episode, but we were talking about doing it. We thought of the name. And then I was kind of branching off. I was like, you know what? That name in itself, it's not broad enough. Wake Up Staten Island, it kind of sounds like a morning show, And then, like, what if I leave? What if I film the podcast in different places and I'm not in Staten Island? Just like all these factors were playing in. And I think my friend was getting less interested in it too. So I was like, you know what? Like, if you want something done, you got to do it on your own. Same thing with my YouTube channel. I was gonna originally started with somebody, and kind of the same reason. He lost interest in it, and I was like, well, you know what? I gotta keep it going. I'm glad I did too, because what if I just gave up? What if I was like, hey, he doesn't want to do it, then why should I? So it's more or less come a long way. I've this this March, I think, will be 3 years since I started it.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's been a fun time. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah.
What was your favorite podcast that you did out of all of
them? I would say it's Lloyd and JD. Lloyd and JD it was the favorite just because it was just me and Lloyd hanging out. And like I said, we're good friends, and it's just like it was what we would do anyways, right? We just recorded it, and a lot of people, we get all sorts of weird and wonderful comments because people are like, you're assholes or this or didn't like what we were talking about. Yeah. But to the same extent, the funny thing with that podcast is that it kind of blew up in a weird way in different places. Like I said, here, not so popular, but it was just, we didn't care. Like, if nobody watched it, we didn't care. if 10,000 people watched it, we didn't care, and then it's like, we were one of the first podcasts on Spotify, it's like all this crazy stuff, like, just the experience. And that's what I love about, sort of the creative process. I mean, I learned all this stuff about, getting on Google Play and, getting listed in Apple iTunes and getting on Spotify and getting on Amazon and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, it doesn't matter, whether it was a success or a failure or, how it played out or what, like I said, what the end result is, could all blow up. We may never do another episode again. But all that knowledge and all that fundamental stuff about how to do those things is firmly implanted in there. So if I ever went to manage a podcast or help somebody get a podcast started or start another one, it's 100 times easier, because that's the hard thing with a lot of these things when you start is you've got to learn so much stuff. And that's, sort of back at the beginning, or they're saying like, this is work, it's work. You may love doing it, but it's work, and you got to think about things, otherwise you're just going to you're doomed to do the same thing forever,
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not someone anyone could just jump into. Even the YouTube, I tell people to make channels, but I don't expect them to get it right away. It took me a long time to get better at it. I'll look at my old videos and like cringe, what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. No, it's that's a wonderful thing to do, is watch your old stuff, like I said, I went from full production to YouTube. It's actually kind of weird how my relationship with YouTube was. Is like I said, I made direct to DVD action films that had budgets. We had pro riders, we had camera crews, we had helicopters, we had all sorts of shit.
Wow.
I used to do stuff like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Red Bull Rampage and all that kind of stuff. Red Bull Rampage, they go to the Utah desert. It's still going on now. It had a hiatus for a little while, and they jump off like 30-foot cliffs doing backflips and all sorts of stuff. It's just insane. But we would do this, and we would fly around all over the place and film with riders. We'd go, we'd fly to Vegas and, get kicked out of UNLV campus for the rest of our lives because we were like jumping off the, the Mac Center stairs, like gapping the stairs and stuff. And, of course, we're not supposed to be there. Or we go to New York and we do a bunch of street riding, and we do all these crazy things, and they would go to DVD, and then that's how we would make their money. They get distributed and all that kind of stuff. And then when YouTube came out, I was just kind of like, well, and I'm kind of skipping stuff because initially there was a company called TotalVid, which was based out of San Francisco. It was a media company where you could rent movies online. So you could rent my movie, you could watch it, and then after like 3 days, it would not be able to be played, and then you could buy the DVD from them. And, there was that whole kind of thing. And then they went under. So it's like, well, where else can we put it online? Because this internet seems like a thing that's, important, maybe, And so YouTube, we kind of came on the radar, and we were putting stuff on YouTube, and then YouTube was taking them down, and they're like, you don't have the rights to these music and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I would send them, kind of messages like, I do, like I have, for those of you who've worked in film, you need master and sync rights to have, music associated with your film, right, so you can play it publicly and so people can watch it and all that kind of stuff. And you have contracts and all. So I had all this legal documentation in my hand, and they're like, nope, we're not going to do it. So I'm just like, these guys are amateurs. I don't want anything to do with them, It's, and then, 20 years later, it's like, damn it, like I should have just,
Oh, yeah. if anything, so it's weird how the monetization works. So they would let you put your video up, but you wouldn't have ads in front of it. Was that what the deal was? What?
They were taking them down.
Oh.
They were just this was like really early on. It's kind of like there was some complaints. They had had some legal issues with, I can't remember which company it was. So they were really kind of overreacting to it. So I just didn't want to be bothered, because I would send them like, here's the master and sync rights. It's like, well, you don't have the rights for this, and it's like, yeah,
Right.
I do. Like, I have contracts. Like, here's the contracts. But of course, I mean, they're so used to dealing with anybody that they're like, well, and at that point, like now if you go on, NBC's on there and CBS is on, like all these companies are on there. So I mean,
hosts are on there, everybody.
Yeah, so they're used to it now. So I kind of waited, and then I jumped back on, and I'm doing videos now, and not that I'm doing any mountain bike stuff on there as of yet. Although I've some of the riders that I filmed with have their own YouTube channels that I do work with from time to time. So it's it's always interesting. But again, it's just it's a learning thing. It's like I had to learn a whole new industry really from the ground up, because DVD production is one thing, but digital media is a different thing. And you could take back then, like we'd film for a year, and then we'd edit for 6 months, and then we would release, and then we'd go to Interbike in Las Vegas, and then we'd kind of premiere the movie, and then we'd sell like as many DVDs as we could, and then we would take all that money, and then we'd make another film, and kind of go that route. And then we at Interbike, we'd be like, hey, do you guys want to sponsor? Do you want bicycle company X in there? Or I guess I could just list off spot, like Intense, do you want to be in there? How about you guys? Like ODI, do you want to be in there? Do you want a presence? Like do you want guys to wear your clothing? We'll do clothing deals. Like
wow.
All that kind of stuff. But that's how it used to be done. And like I said, with YouTube now, it's like you put a video up, they put like whatever ad they feels the audience is connected with, and give you half the money. I mean, it's pretty cake that way.
God, I think it's kind of unfair how some creators can just grow on YouTube now. For instance, like what you were doing seems, awesome. You were putting money into making like actual film, and putting a lot of effort, getting equipment, getting like hiring someone that can fly helicopters. You get actors too?
Yeah. Well, professional riders. Okay. So typically what the deal is with pro riders is, I used to ride mountain bikes and do all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff on them, and ride with all these guys. A lot of times they would ride trails, and I would be the guy riding behind them. So I'd have a camera strapped to my head and like a big backpack with this stupid cassette thing that had to be in there, because we were on actual physical media, and follow them down the trail. But like you had to go out and kind of do those things, get those contracts. And I mean, you can still do that now with YouTube. I mean, there's lots of guys with brand deals and all that kind of stuff. It's just that,
like you, for instance, you did all that work to try and, become this, content creator more or less. But now you've got people who, I was talking to Ricky about this too, like people coming from TikTok who just made a YouTube channel, but all because they were big on TikTok. Now they gained like millions of subscribers already on YouTube in months. And it's completely unfair to the people who have been grinding for like, I'm not saying me, but like other people who may never get to 1 million, or it may take years for them just to even get to, like 500K, even that.
Yeah.
But now you get these 16, 17-year-old kids gaining all these subscribers within months, and they didn't have to work nearly as hard as other people have.
Yeah, I mean, but it's smart of them, right?
Yeah,
I will say this, like, I mean, if you have and again, like if we talk about Rizzle a bit, it's if you have 1 million subscribers, right, on one platform, you better get at least 10% of those people to subscribe to you somewhere else. because, then at least you've got options, right? It's, and again, that's always been my worry about Rizzle, is that it doesn't like, if I go out and say, hey, come over, subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's like crickets,
Right.
and I should get at least, 100 or so out of that, and it just doesn't happen. And I don't think anybody's hard baked into a single app, for the vast majority of people, so I don't blame those guys, because especially, like I said, with Donald Trump was talking about shutting TikTok down. So you better get a YouTube channel, and you better get your audience there, because, they're gonna, if they shut it down, you're done. If you don't have anything, and if you didn't think about it ahead, how do you get found again?
Yeah. And, I wasn't denying that, like I said, like they most definitely should be making YouTube channels. Yeah, and they probably don't really expect that they're going to grow as fast as they do. They probably can't even believe it themselves, because, being on TikTok and YouTube's a completely different thing. And some of them weren't even sure what they were really doing in the beginning. I don't think they still even don't, but.
Right. And you see that all the time. Like, I mean, fame's fleeting, man. It's, I don't care what generation you're from. Like, if you take a look at, I don't know, shows that you watched as a kid, TV shows, and some of the child actors that were on there, some of them, it's like, where are they now? They just disappear. It's because, they were hot for that moment, and then when they're, kind of flame fizzled out, nobody else picked them up. And that's the hard thing with social media too, is that you really got to be on it, and to be on that top tier all the time. Like, there's all sorts of people. Like, I mean, there's all sorts of videos that's like, whatever happened to that person? And like, I mean, you see people like Jenna Marbles, just quit, and all like, yeah, she just quit. It's it all sort of revolved around the because she had done blackface and some of her older videos and stuff like that, and she just she's kind of like, I gotta take a a knee, I gotta take a break, I think I'm done, and she walked away. And there's she's a very prominent kind of YouTuber, but there's a lot of other people that just kind of disappear, or that style of video isn't popular anymore, or again, like YouTube changes their policies and says, hey, you're not allowed firearms, so you're not allowed to be on there, or you're not allowed to talk about drugs, so you're not on there, all those kind of things. And it's just like, those people disappear sometimes, right?
Yeah, I don't blame YouTubers for leaving, or even if they didn't necessarily leave, they definitely don't make as many videos as they once did. Once it started. And yeah, it's because of all these rules now on YouTube, like the algorithm, and you have to mark it if it's made for kids or not, and it's just, it's getting a little like they're making it harder for us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's business, like if you look back at what I was doing on DVDs and stuff like that. And that's what I mean. Like there's a business side to things, to creation, right? I mean, you can, when I was a kid, I used to make home videos with a VHS tape and all that kind of stuff, and show it to my friends and all that. And it was cool, and we put in like really crappy special effects, and, like little cutouts and stuff. Like it was terrible. But, again, when you control something, it's one thing. It's when you're on somebody else's platform, they make the rules, especially if they're saying, we'll split revenue with you, right? Even with mountain bike movies, like, when we got sponsors, right? We had obligations to those sponsors, right? We'll show your stuff for so much time. We'll do this. We'll make sure that you're, there's product placement. We'll do all that kind of stuff. You got, obligations. People just don't hand you money for no reason. That's, I think the biggest misunderstanding that's out there. It's like, it's, and the business side of things too. Like I said, it's, if you look at it, especially with bigger companies like NBC, CBS, and all that kind of stuff going onto these platforms, it's raising the bar. And I think a lot of people, are feeling that pressure, because you can't just, necessarily turn on the camera, be a talking head anymore and get the views, you know?
You said mountain bike videos you used to make?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Back in the day, my best friend and I, he was my neighbor. We had mountain bikes, but we didn't always get to go on like these really dope trails that we wanted to. You know, we didn't have cars at the time. We were too
Yeah.
young, and you know, we lived in the city. There's not really many places you could go do that, but we would go on YouTube and we would watch these videos with you know, just great footage of you know, just scaling down a mountain or just going on the trails, and there's like a few guys, they got this dope music playing, and dude, maybe I watched 20 of videos back then.
You probably have, you know, it's a small world, you know, in that sense, you know, it's,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, they're a lot of fun to make, you know, it was a good part of my life. And, you know, I always think that I'll go back and, make some more. I had a bad accident, a few years ago where I actually fell 75 feet, down a mountain, and I hit a tree, snapped it in half, screwed up my hip, which I just actually a couple months ago stopped. It's actually why I'm in music photography versus action sports, because I was having difficulty walking for a long time, you know, and they went to get me. I got airlifted off the side of the mountain, and when I fell, they thought I was dead. The tree was halfway down the cliff, that I snapped in half, and it snagged me. And I didn't fall the full 150 feet. And so they went down there, they went down there. I was snoring. You know, I had knocked myself out, cracked my helmet, branch pierced, cut my head. Back was sore because there was a rock that pierced my back about 2 inches on the left side of my spine. And yeah, I pierced through my body armor and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, I was messed up. So I got airlifted off. And so from there, it's like, well, what do I do? Like, you know, it's like, I can't ride, you know, I can't follow these guys. I can't film these guys. And so it's going to make making films that much harder. You know, I can't go photograph them for the magazines like I did and stuff like that, because I used to do the photographs for the magazines as well. It's like, what can I do? And I had a buddy that he's like, hey, you know, he's a Canadian guy. You may have heard of him, but Matt Good. He was doing a concert. He's like, Matt needs somebody to photograph him. Why don't you go photograph him? And I'm like, sure, you know, that's cool. Like, I'll do that. I'm like, I've never shot a show before. I don't know what I'm doing, you know. And then I go to this big concert and do it. They like the photos, and, you know, sort of the rest is history. Like, I mean, I've photographed almost everybody at this point in my life. You know, it's kind of crazy in the music industry. Obviously I'm not right now because there's no concerts going on, so it's a little boring, but
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a crazy story. Like, you know, thank God you're fucking alive, dude. That's
yeah. And I mean, it just it changes your philosophy on life. I'm always kind of like, you got to live your life to the fullest. And I was like that before. I mean, I had cancer as a kid. I had bone cancer in my leg when I was 15, and they talked about amputating my left leg and all sorts of stuff. And obviously I got through that with both my legs, you know, and, you know, it kind of gives you perspective, because your whole life can change in a second. And it's just, you know, I've always told people, like, just go do what you want to do. Love what you do. And, you know, everything's kind of good around that. And that's, you know, it's kind of how I led my life. Like, I mean, to be honest, when I was going over that cliff, because I knew I fucked up when I did it, and I was going over and I could see, and I kicked the bike out, and I'm looking down. It's like a 150, 200-foot drop.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm dead. Like, in my head, I'm dead. But to be honest, at that, you know, like, you always envision people, you know, screaming as they, you know, plummet to their death and stuff. I was like, oh, well, like, this is it. Like, and to be honest, in a weird way, I was cool with it. Because how old was I? I was, at that point, I was just over 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I did everything, you know, that I always wanted to do, and I never let limitations stop me. You know, if this is where I die, I guess this is where I die, you know. But I didn't die, and, you know, it still carries forward. And I always tell people, you know, it's like, you gotta do what you want. Like, don't, you know, you can't let fear and, you know, what'll people think and all that kind of stuff stop you from doing what you love to do. You gotta just do what your heart wants you to do and follow that. And, like I said, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. You be rich and famous, or you might not be. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters at the end of the day, right? The truth of the matter is that most of us, if you're living in North America, or a first world country, you win the birth lottery anyways. Your life is generally pretty good.
Yep.
I've been poor and all that kind of stuff and not had a place to, really stay and stuff like that. But, you're still good, man. Like it's,
we don't always realize how good we have it until we lose it,
Yeah.
Man, dude, that's pretty nuts, dude. So that was somewhere like in Canada when you
I was we were out in the middle of Nakusp, BC, and we'd been riding big mountain and stuff like that, so it would just
JT, I almost had I thought, no joke, I thought you were like in your 30s. So like how long ago was that accident? Like
it's I am 50 now.
Really? What?
Yeah.
I had no idea, dude.
Yeah, I start like I said. I mean, if you think about it, like I was doing DVD film when I started in photography. I was using like film. So I mean, I've seen a lot of changes. Like social media. I was on MySpace and all these kind of things. Friendster. Like,
I was on MySpace too.
That people have probably never heard of. I was doing like bulletin boards before that and all sorts of crazy stuff. And that's why, again, like, I sort of preach that don't put all your eggs in one basket, because nothing lasts really forever. Like it's gonna change, and you're gonna have to adapt. Yeah, exactly. If I was still producing films for DVD, I'd probably be broke because nobody watches DVDs anymore.
No, yeah, everything's streaming now. Everything's like Disney Plus, Netflix, even like YouTube, whatever.
Yeah, in fact, I had an independent film before that was on VHS. So I mean,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Movie theaters have made it this far.
Yeah, I think for somebody me, and I mean, it's probably a generation thing and all that kind of stuff. I still love going to the movies. One of my good friends, Josh, he goes by Josh WRB. He's on Twitch, he's on YouTube and stuff like that. Every year we do a horror film for film festivals. So we've won a couple of them and all that kind of stuff, and we just have a good time. But that's the best part of it, is that you go to the theater and you watch your film on a big screen. There's something to be said about that. It feels good, just sitting there eating popcorn, drinking a beer, watching your film, everybody around. You get to see how people react to it directly instead of, thumbs up or thumbs down. You don't even know if they really watched it, or, all these people in the theater, they were there from the start till the end, and you get to see, like, did they jump at the right parts? Were they scared? Did they laugh? It's an awesome experience.
I hope to do that one day, man. Even whether I'm helping filming it or in it, I like to try to act myself one day. It's definitely an aspiration. That's crazy. Going back to your accident, like you said, man, it was more or less a blessing in disguise. You ended up becoming great at something you never thought you would, filming, photography. And that, now look at you, man. I consider you a pretty good photographer, and I really like your work.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude. I miss concerts too, man. I on my Instagram, if people scroll through, there's tons of pictures from, random shows that I went to, and like these pretty famous artists, and
yeah.
I really.
So who's your favorite photo of, music wise? Who?
Ooh, so I've always liked when I go to a show and it's all about the lighting, right? And how the stage is set up. So I think I've had most fun going to, and I can't really just pick one person, but just going to punk related shows, because they would have the most energy, and there was never a problem with me bringing my camera in, and it was always, like I said, the lighting was usually great, and like the stage set up, the background was always like, it was just always a fun time, and that's what I like to photograph. And they're very photogenic too, because on stage they're not just standing still, they're like jumping all over the place, they're doing whatever the fuck they want, and just screaming into the mic, and it becomes more than just doing photography. You're like capturing that moment you're living in, and you could look at your pictures back, now you could look at them now and be like, I remember that. I remember how exactly how it was, and that's why I'm gonna do photography until I'm dead. It's because I think about that with everything, not just shows, just like any shoot I've done. Just it's really a great thing, and I hope more people could get into it. If I ever have kids one day, I'm gonna teach my son or daughter, definitely, like at the ripe age, buy her a camera. Just I think it's something everyone should pick up. It's really a cool thing.
Yeah, it's a cool way to explore the world, right? And it's
it is.
You get to anywhere you get to explore the details. You get to take a really good look at things, and it's surprising sometimes the things that you take for granted, I guess, in the world, and how beautiful they actually are. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in a small town of 50 people, or you could be in New York City, and there's always something to photograph, and that's the beauty of photography. And
as long as you have, just keep your eyes open, your third eye, if you want to call it that too, and you got to just be more open to the things around you, and just know what to photograph.
Yeah, and that's again, that's the beauty of community. Like when I'm not working, I like going and photograph things that I don't like. I mean, I shoot sometimes 200, 300 shows a year. It's it's ridiculous, but I still like put in the street and photograph, go to Chinatown, or go to like some of the smaller communities, and just photograph what's going on, because that's the city I'm in, and there's always stuff. And that's the beauty of like New York, man, is it's always something going on, man. Like I like spending time down in the Bowery and those kind of areas and stuff. And I go to some rough neighborhoods because I know tattooists, right? So
that's cool, man. What kind of, do you have any tattoos on your arm, or?
Oh yeah. I'm like covered.
Holy shit, nice. That's cool. I like that.
I'm just old school, so I don't have them sort of below my knees and below my elbows. Because the guy that I apprentice with, he's always like, you want to be able to go to a bank and have a business conversation and look like everybody else, but the rest of me is covered pretty much. It's
that's cool though. That's cool. I always thought of getting one. I don't know what I would get right now. I have a friend who's like obsessed. He gets like a new tattoo every like 2 weeks. It's something I gotta like put some consideration into, but one day I want to at least get like at least maybe 3 before I pass away or whatever. So like in my lifetime, maybe at least 3. But I don't know, I've had people tell me once you get one, you get addicted and you just want
I just have one. It's just one big one, that's all.
Okay.
So it all blends together. At a certain point, they just there's no separation, right?
That's cool they do that, man. So technically, can you draw really well too?
Yeah. I mean, I'm also an artist. I'm an airbrush artist. I paint everything from goalie masks to helmets. I've had helmets in 4 Olympic Games, Turin, Sochi, Vancouver, and Innsbruck. Basically did the bobsled helmets. I did some skeleton helmets for athletes. Bit of British bobsled team, I painted their helmets as well. Some ski jumpers as well. I've done a lot of hockey stuff, WHL, NHL goalies, NCAA goalies, so it's, they just send stuff my way, and, I just paint stuff, it's, so yeah. And I mean, obviously tattooing, tattooed people and would have to draw. So yeah, I mean, it's all part of it. And that's what I mean. Like, you got to be creatively diverse is kind of my thought on things. It's like, sometimes things get old, let's be honest. Like, you know, you go photograph every day. Some days you're like, I really just don't want to go out and do this. So go do something else creative, you know? And it's like, always keep your attention and keep yourself happy. I mean, that's the goal in life is, you know, far as I'm concerned, right?
Yeah,
Like
keep
it's,
yourself busy. Like, do what you got to do.
yeah, you know, do what you love. Right. And, you know, enjoy. Like it's,
That's what I'm saying, man. You know, like everything I've been trying to work on these past few years, you know, including this, photography, YouTube, content, whatever. It's certainly not helping me much right now. You know, it's definitely hard to get a job, you know, especially with the virus and everything. But just, you know, in general, it's never been that easy to be perfectly sustainable. You know, I can't necessarily get my own apartment right now, you know?
yeah,
And I wish I could, you know, like, don't get me wrong, you know, I do, you know, living at home is okay, but if I had my own place with a roommate, that'd be fucking great. You know, it's just, it's definitely like this is the field that, you know, it may take a long time and I'm going to just need that patience, you know, but if I end up being successful with all this, then I'll be so glad that I at least tried and did it, you know? Because like, what if I never did? What if I just figured, oh, it's never going to work out, you know? And then I'll never know. So
yeah,
that's why, like, I can't just stop, you know?
yeah.
I feel like I've come like almost too far already. I've invested so much time into trying to make these things work. So if it doesn't, then I don't know what I'm going to do, but I have, you know, like strong faith that it will, you know, I think it's going to all go well eventually. I just, you know, it's hard to say
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, you know, the opportunity will come and things
Yeah.
will just kind of line up. And, you know, I mean, you've got good connections anyways. I saw you were out, I'm gonna forget his name. The guy with the dreads, sportscaster, I think he is.
Oh,
You were doing a party with him, Shakif.
oh, Sheffic.
Yeah, Sheffic. There we go. You know.
Yeah, dude, because of him, I've gone to like crazy events. I've gone to this thing called the Shorty Awards, and literally like all these YouTube creators were there, like David Dobrik, the guy from Sean Evans from First We Feast. I even saw Neve from Catfish. Like I saw like a lot of fucking like these celebrities, and like I
Yeah.
was able to like kind of talk to them for a little bit. It was crazy. Yeah, and he's always kind of trying to help me out, even if he just needs help with getting some behind the scenes like pictures for like some sort of event he's covering or doing, or just filming, getting some footage for him. He'll compensate me. You know, he'll give me like $50 or maybe a little more. You know, just for the day for helping him
Yeah.
out. Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's actually he's on Rizzle now. I told him to go on, and you know it's funny because I remember when I told him about it in the beginning, he had no interest. He was like, nah, it's
Yeah.
not for me, because he does his own thing too, and you know where he interviews people, and his videos are usually longer. If you actually check out his videos on Rizzle, you know how like we have that limit of 1 minute.
Yeah.
He worked something out with Vidya, so now his videos, he has like 5-minute videos on Rizzle,
Yeah.
which is like, you know, funny because like I said, originally he didn't give a fuck. He was like, nah, it's not for me, you know. And now he's like one of the
Yeah.
biggest creators on the app. Like every time even if he makes like one video and he doesn't really post as much, he'll get like a lot, you know. But now going
Yeah.
back to the views, we don't know who they are necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's cool that, you know,
So
there's, you know, the one there's a couple things I wish they would do with that app is one, I wish they would just allow you to upload videos so you could like put
oh
in
no.
a really tight 1 minute video. You know, it's fine if you want to put 1 minute. 5 minutes be even better, you know, but like a 1 minute edited video, but you know, they only allow you a little bit and then you got to talk, you know, because you know, I know that one of the prompts that they were talking about, you know, like kind of the talking head videos, they get a little, you know, when it's all just talking heads, there's not a lot of variety on there, right? So it's you either have a personality that people are attracted to or you don't, is kind of the thing, you know. And editing and, you know, just cameras and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, being a photographer, you know, a camera can make a huge difference in the quality of stuff, you know,
100%.
even, this kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I wish I could have hooked up the Sony to do this so there was better video quality. But I know, in a podcast, generally it'll overheat in about 45 minutes. It's done. But again, those little things, and even just stuff like like this microphone, talking into that. Like, I mean, to have that capacity to do it, like, yeah, I can't do it in the phone. So for me, these are all strikes against it, because I like I like good audio because I have the capacity to do it. I like good video because I have the capacity to do it. I don't care if I have to edit it in Final Cut or Adobe and then upload it. It works better. And that was part of my frustration early on. I know when I first joined the app, it's like you could record and then you could like let go and you could record something else later on. So I'd do like these little mini things and then I'd upload it and then it'd be like unable to upload, and then it would delete the whole thing, so your whole day is like lost. I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I remember when that used to happen to me too. I would get so pissed. I didn't like having to redo it because I felt like I said everything I had to say, and then it's just, oops, sorry, gone. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, when you're vlogging and you're going throughout the city throughout the day and you're like 10 different spots, like I am not, going back 5 hours in my day and redoing this. But that's like they've got their game plan. Who knows where it'll go? Like I said, if TikTok, the best thing I think that could happen to them is Trump kicks out TikTok, and then they've probably got a chance.
Yeah, well, you said I knew this too. TikTok is banned in India.
Yeah.
I was told, and actually, if you go on the app, there's a lot of Indian creators on Rizzle now that supposedly did come from TikTok and they went here. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. If you I remember this is one channel on Rizzle, and it almost is like a TV quality channel, because they post these videos and you could tell it's not with their phones. It's good, and there's dialogue, and there's definitely by dialogue I meant like a script.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Yeah, and I was like, wow, like where did this all come from? And I think TikTok being banned really helped them. So if it gets banned in the U.S., which I'm not sure if it is, they're talking about it, and then it just doesn't happen. It's like, make up your fucking mind. What are you gonna do? But if it does get banned here, this could be huge for Rizzle, because people be like, oh, well, where do we go?
Well, it'll either be them or Byte, right? So.
Yeah, Byte, I don't know. We talked about Byte, right?
Yeah.
I talked about it with Ricky too, I think. I don't like it, man. People on there try way too hard to make it look like Vine, and it's just not good. Like, people aren't funny. And I'm not into that 7-second video thing anymore. I think it's too short. Back in the day, back in the day. But, actually, I mean, it felt like a long time ago, because if I look back at it now, Vine was big in 2013, and that's already 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I liked it then, but now I don't really like it. I tried it. I couldn't make the 7-second videos even. I thought of things. I thought of a video to make, and I was like, wait, you know what? I'm so used to this having 1 minute feels like a long time now on Rizzle, right?
Yeah.
So I had 7 seconds. I was like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I can't be myself. Like, I feel like I'm rushing. And that's how I feel like it's going on with other people too. Some people make it work well, and then they do these loops, and it's like kind of cool. But like I said, other people, and I feel like most people on Byte aren't making it work. And it's just, I don't even see people talking about it like at all.
Yeah. It had its thing because it was done by the same people that created Vine,
right?
Because Vine was bought by Twitter, and Twitter just basically killed it, right? So
yeah, pretty much.
They just didn't want, like, that. That's the thing, man. Is like, and sort of talking about, again, Rizzle is, being a startup and stuff like that. There's kind of two game plans for a social media company. One is that they blow up and they're the next Facebook, or the next TikTok, you know, because really that's it, because Facebook owns Instagram. Instagram was
Right.
its own thing at one point, and then Facebook's like, you know what, Instagram, you're getting a little big. We're just going to buy you. And they've kept it independent, you know.
Option? Like the owner, the people who made Instagram, did they agree to it, or could Facebook, a bigger company, just be like, no, you're ours now?
No, they've got to agree. They sold it.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, right? So Rizzle, you know, Facebook says, okay, you know, these 1 minute videos are all going to kind of do it. So we're just going to buy you. And what they're going to do is either kill the app. So people have to go find their app, or they just, you know, transfer the user base. But, you know, I think that's kind of few and far between now. You know, the other one is just you blow up and you become as big as them. You know, the thing is with Facebook is that you've really got that, they really just kind of like see what you're doing now. Like they were going to buy Snapchat at one point, and, you know, with the videos that disappeared, and then they're just like, you know what, we're not going to buy you. Fuck you. We're just going to put it right in, like, you know, and now you've got Facebook stories, right? And Instagram stories.
Right.
The exact same thing. And it's really kind of the same thing as Rizzle as well. So they won't even look at that as an option. Right. So, you know, and again, you know, TikTok's huge, man. Like it kind of blew up. It's kind of funny. Like,
it is.
I don't know if you ever like read or listen to Gary Vaynerchuk talk. You know, he's an interesting guy in the sense that, you know, some things he says are really, really good. Some things I completely disagree with, but, you know, he's got some good insight. But he talked about Musically in his book, Crushing It, a long time ago, and saying this is the big thing. But the thing was with Musically, now TikTok is the music, man. Like the music is what makes that app and what makes it entertaining. And they allow you to upload the entire thing. So you can edit the whole thing and then upload it, and you're golden, right? So,
you know, that's why like people were saying, oh, all these TikTok creators that rely on making these dance videos, having these copyrighted songs, won't be able to do that on YouTube, because
that's right.
The whole monetization copyright shit. Although this one girl, Charlie D'Amelio, who's like the biggest creator on TikTok, I think. She's on YouTube now, and she's still pretty successful making videos without having to do her basic, you know, TikTok style. You know, so she kind of more or less adapted to it, but for others, it's not going to be that simple. You know, if TikTok goes away, and I kind of do feel bad for people if they started to grow, or they are right now, and now they have to worry about it getting smaller. So that's why, I feel like
but they still have options. Like when you go across, like YouTube still has YouTube Studio Music where it's royalty free. You can put it in your videos. You won't get a copyright strike. The music sucks donkey balls, but you know, it's you know, it's still something. Or they can go and pay for, you know, third-party licensing, like, you know, Artlist or Epidemic Sound or Audio, all these, you know, or Shutterstock, where you basically can download the song, use it on your YouTube channel, and, you know, the basically copyrights taken care of, and you've paid the artist, which is always a good thing. And you can do that as well. You know, if you got a big enough following, you know, spending money on music is not a huge deal. And in fact, I would say that there's probably opportunity for you there, especially with the music industry being as competitive as it is, that a lot of people would give you their music to, you know, utilize and stuff. Like I've had bands, you know, that I've gone and photographed them in part of my blogs. They're like, go ahead, you know, do whatever. And I mean, there's some, you know, big bands in there, and I'll get the copyright thing. It'll say you're using this, and I just kind of send a note. I have permission from so and so, and then next thing YouTube like turns it back on, and I get paid. So it's all good, you know.
You say at first I thought you were gonna say, oh well, anyone could say they got permission, but because if anything, if they really want proof, you have to literally get like a video of the guy. Like, look, he said it. I have video. You said it. I could.
Well, they usually like anything that's in their copyright claim system, they have a contact there. So it's,
Oh, okay.
kind of thing, right? And you kind of put your explanation, right? So I'll be like,
Right.
hey, Scott Bennett, the lead singer of The Path Less Traveled, said I could use this song in this vlog that
So,
I did in Japan. It's cool, or, Max said, the concert at the Dome here, I could use their music as background. So, I mean, it's all kind of cool, but I have those, professional relationships with,
that's
these
cool.
guys anyways. So it's easy, right? It's, sometimes it's a little bit of, horse trading. It's like, hey, I'll do this if you, let me do this. And they're always good with it.
I
It's,
like that.
it's always good, and that's the other thing. Like, you don't always have to get paid in money. You can get paid in trade, and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff is always a good thing. It's,
The intro for my podcast, it's just some random, artist that just makes music and he posts on YouTube. But more or less underground. Like, you don't see a lot of his stuff. I think he's mostly on SoundCloud. I think he's called like ChilledCow or whatever, something. I forget
oh yeah, ChilledCow,
I think that's his name.
YT, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's got a channel with the girl writing in the book and the cat in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've used for all my podcast intros this one song in particular because I like the beat, and I'll when I send you the link later, I'll show you what that song is. And yeah, I've always liked it, but I fear one day that I haven't got a copyright strike for it though. Or a claim or anything. So I guess it's okay. I mean, in the description I say who it's from. I give the credit to the guy.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff like that. Like, there are some guys on YouTube that give away free music, and it'll show up to them in the background of the copyright system. It's like when people copy like my videos or post them somewhere else, I get notification that like, they've used my footage. So, I mean, you can either, like, I usually just send them an email, say, hey man, like, just put my name in the credit, link my channel. I'm cool with that. Like, next time, please ask first, kind of thing. But they probably get that, and he's probably just cool with it. Like, Lloyd and JD podcast, we had two different theme songs because we changed, a couple of years in. First, we had Rock the Microphone by 240, and again, a band that's released in tours and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And they gave their permission, and like I said, the first one, they're like, hey, you can't do that. It's like, we know these guys, this is it. They're like, okay, cool. And we never had a problem again.
Right.
Same thing, Seven's Wild. We utilized theirs in a later one, and a couple videos we did, it's always a non-issue. Like, they'll,
that's funny. I wanted to go back and talk about that podcast again with your friend. So you really reached like other countries like that? Like, that's
yeah. It's weird. It's, you would see sometimes, like, it was because of who we had on. Like, we would have, for example, we had a band called Silo. They're defunct now. They were on, but they had a following in Japan. And because they had a following in Japan, and these guys are crazy about this band, they found our podcast through this. And then it's like, well, these guys were on these guys, and these guys are funny, or they, whatever, a couple crazy white dudes, talking about stupid stuff, so we just kind of got viewership from that. I had one guy from Brazil. He said, I listen to your podcast all the time. It helped me learn English. And, there, like, there's a lot of swearing on the podcast, and, it's, it goes places. I'm like, I hope you don't use, the full vocabulary that we do, because it's probably not gonna, go well for you. It's like, give me that fucking hamburger. It's like, how about just a hamburger, please? But it's crazy the reach that you have. And same thing with YouTube, man. Like, if you dive into the back end of your analytics, to see where people are watching you, it's crazy sometimes. Like, again, like, I'm widely unpopular in Canada. But the vast majority of my views for my YouTube channel is the U.S. So it's
pretty odd, right? You would think like people would relate to you more since you're from, like people in Canada would relate to you since you're from Canada.
Yeah. I think Canada's just a little behind on the, a couple
Maybe.
years behind kind of thing, or just, maybe not as interested. I mean, it's definitely not as big a population as the US. So, I mean, that might be it, just out of, it might have more viewers, but just by vast numbers, it gets overwhelmed by the US numbers and stuff like that.
Yo, I gotta visit you out there, man. I've been to Canada twice. I went to Niagara Falls, which everyone kind of goes there, but I went on the.
Oh, so you came to the good side.
I did. No, honestly, dude, like for my first time there, people were so nice. Like I couldn't believe it. And not even then, a second time I went to, and you would appreciate this. I went to this. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Amnesia Rock Fest. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to it 2017, 18, 2017, I think. And I went with some buddies. We drove out there. Like it took like 8 hours, and we crossed the border. We went there. We camped out. And oh my God, yeah, it was probably one of the best times I've ever had. Just like amazing artists were there. Blink 182, Sum 41, Bring Me the Horizon. Just to name a few. Even Ice Cube was there. It was a pretty badass time. Yeah, and we met a lot of locals from there, and just all like really cool people. We smoked with them and just drank and just shared stories, and they asked us a lot about like New York and like America and stuff, and we just had similar questions about what they do in Canada on the daily, and it was just good times, man. I really do love that country, dude. I go back.
Yeah, it's it's a good place to live, man. I have no complaints. To be honest, like I mean, I immigrated to Canada when I was like 15 years old, so I mean, I haven't been here my entire life, but I mean, I've lived here more than I've lived, sort of at home kind of thing, and that's just kind of how it is. I'm originally from the UK. I'm from Scotland. You wouldn't be able to tell by my accent, but it's very Canadian now.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Can you talk in a Scottish accent?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah. What? What are you asking me to do it new? Nobody will bloody understand me, my man. I'll be absolutely fucking ridiculous. Nobody will understand a single word I fucking said at this part of the podcast whatsoever.
No, that's fucking awesome, dude. You could be like in some sort of like Viking movie or something, Michael Myers, he kind of had like an accent like that. Is he from?
Hey, Mike Myers is Canadian. Mike Myers, his dad was Scots, I believe. So that's where a lot of the inspiration for like even some of his characters, like Fat Bastard, and those movies comes from. So I mean, I mean, Canada has very, and the U.S. does too. Like I mean, especially on the coast that you're on. I mean. A lot of the first settlers were from Europe, whether they were Irish, English, or whatever. Canada was obviously the English and the French. So, I mean, there's a lot of commonality in those regards, but I mean, that's, it's 100 years ago now. So it's,
that's pretty lit, man.
I mean, it's like when you go to Boston, you can hear like little tinglings of, sort of that Irish accent every once in a while. And, definitely the regional stuff. Same thing, Canada. If you go to the East Coast, there's definitely an Irish twang to some of them.
Yeah, and then it's funny because some parts of Canada, it's more French.
Yeah. So if you go to Quebec, it's
where we went to the show. It was
outside Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. And we had more.
You're in the heart of France, there, man.
Yeah. It was cool though, man. It's nice to get away from what you're used to,
Yeah. I mean, that's the great thing. Like, I mean, is, again, going out and exploring and traveling. Like I said, I've been to New York. So, before COVID hit, I was working on a film that is now like weirdly in a weird space because it's a documentary film and it's not done. I have to go back to Malaysia and Singapore to finish it, but
cool,
it's it's always cool to go experience other things and different people and see different stuff. Like, I mean, I've driven all through the States filming. Like I said, I had the luxury of, traveling all over the world doing the mountain bike films. It's and it's just great. You meet good people and all that kind of stuff. And, generally it doesn't matter where you go. Most people are friendly when you're visiting. It's and people are excited to share their experience with you, and
Right.
probably exactly what you experienced when you went to that thing. It's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah, and you're surprised like how open people could be, even though we're just like strangers, but you kind of just form little connections because, we're all there for the same reason. We all have the same, obviously, taste in music.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's a good time. We're all just trying to make our experiences better. And it's really a fun time. I gotta go back there again. My friends actually, they went back the following year. And, it's a lot of work. I also wasn't as crazy of the lineup, compared to when I went.
Yeah.
And it's just, it takes a lot out of it. It's a long drive. It's so I didn't go with them. But that one time I went was an incredible experience.
Yeah, and big concerts like that, it gets tiring being out in the crowd. That's why I like photographing concerts, because you get escorted right to the front past everybody.
Oh my God.
Hang out in between the barrier and you're good.
It was middle of the summer and it was fucking hot there. So they literally on stage, they had hoses and they would
spraying the fire hoses. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Just to hose down the crowd. It's like there was people fucking getting like heat strokes, man.
Dehydration, heat stroke.
Yeah.
Passing out. Yeah.
We're on this like huge land of dirt. So like you blow your nose and it's like, oh God, you don't even want to like think about it. But yeah, it was yeah, but whatever. Other than that, I didn't bring my camera, which I wish I did, but my friend, he let me borrow his, and it was a DSLR, so it did what it had to do. And I have some pictures on my Instagram from like a few like years ago, and the pictures I took of from that show. And I know when you were asking me what were some of my favorite times taking like photography at live events.
Yeah,
that was definitely one of them. Because like because I would see this show, get some cool shots, have a great time. Oh, another band's playing over here, at 4:00. So I'd go over there, and then the next one there, and I just had like a bunch of great pictures.
Yeah, yeah. It's festivals it's a tough when you're working them is a tough gig, because it's just like you're back and forth all day, and then you've got at the end of the day deadlines because they want them like 10 minutes ago, and you gotta sit down, and you're in a field like with your laptop trying to get these things uploaded, and
it's take time, and that's what people don't understand. Like it's art, and you can't rush a fucking artist, man.
Yeah, the thing is with shows and working for bands, like it's usually when I work a show, like if they play, the Dome here, which is where, the vast majority of big shows are, I'll go there, I'll take the photographs. They want them by, the time they're getting off stage, so they can tweet out or Instagram their fans and say, hey, thanks for, coming out, and, here we go. And they'll have their pictures and all that kind of stuff. Because after that, it's it's an instant world now, right? So I mean, it's in some ways it's easier to take photographs because you get instant feedback. You don't have to go in a dark room and develop the film and get them back, and all that kind of stuff, and hang them and wait. It's instant in the sense that you can get it on a computer, you can edit it, and you can have it out, and it can be shown to the world in like 5 minutes from when you've taken it. It's so the pressure's different, right?
Yeah, one of my friends, he still uses a film camera, and I give him mad props because I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm so used to digital, and I don't have the patience to wait and get them developed and see how they came out. And I always tell this story because it's mad funny. My friend was like, "Oh, hey, I have this film camera. Let me go to he went to the Gay Pride Parade in New York." And he didn't realize he took all the pictures in fucking black and white, like the most colorful event of the year in black and white.
That's and that's the other thing with film is like if you're off, like sometimes when you shoot Like I shoot in full manual all the time. I don't let the camera make any decisions for me. If you're off, like a little bit, like your aperture's off or your shutter speed's off or it's not quite right, and film, you don't know until you get it back. It's like, oh, well, I was totally in left field, it's
Yeah, right.
none of these are good, right? Whereas digital, you can take a look. It's like, hey, I'm overexposed. I'm going to, and knock that down a bit, and it's like, or it's underexposed. I'm going to speed that up, and
we have to change, and it's more like much more convenient. Yo, JD, before I let you go, I wanted to talk about in your background there. Is that Darth Vader?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's I have all sorts of it changes from time to time. The other set downstairs, the podcast, we got like the Stormtrooper helmet down there, and
cool.
Some other cool stuff on there. From your neck of the woods, the rabbit there is actually from Frank Kozik, who is Kid Robot based out of New York City.
Oh, dope.
So I actually have a fair few pieces of him. I don't know what it is about smoking rabbits, but to me they're cool.
I think it looks pretty dope. I almost thought it was like a piggy bank at first.
Yeah. It's not. It's his thing is like cool. Everything that he creates smokes. So it's
word.
And for whatever reason I like the rabbits. But Kid Robots. I don't know if they still have their place down on Canal Street or not, but
possibly
it's
comic book stores in New York still,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be surprised if that's still there.
Yeah, I think they still got their headquarters there, but I don't know if they got the
So, that's cool. Star Wars, The Mandalorian. I'm not sure if you were a fan of that show, but that's
great.
It's coming back next month. I'm pretty.
It's going to be good.
Oh yeah.
I feel that's got a lot more Star Wars vibe than a lot of Star Wars stuff has been up to.
Oh shit! Yeah, like I was blown away by it, dude. And I noticed you have Funko Pops in the back, and I want to get this Mandalorian Funko Pop. I thought it was pretty dope. I have only one. I want to collect some more. I showed it in another podcast, but fuck it, I'll show it again. I have the Spider-Man one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's when in Endgame he has the gauntlet or whatever. In his hand, and then and his eyes go red. He starts like fucking up everybody. Pretty cool.
Yeah, they're just fun toys, Funkos. I mean,
yeah, they are. You gotta leave in the box, you know.
I take some of mine out. I just keep the boxes and throw them back in. But it's like that's the other thing. Like, I mean, for creatives, like you should have like creative stuff all around you. You know what I mean? Like I got little like weird Mario and Luigi's on my desk and like just hanging out, and it's just you got to make things interesting. You don't want a sterile environment.
Like Charmander,
Pokemon's great as well, man.
Baby. Yo, JD, I just want to thank you for coming on my show. This was a very good time. I didn't realize we've been talking for almost like 2 hours now. And yeah, I think we covered a lot. And I just wanted to ask if you have, any last words before you go.
Honestly, dude, I just appreciate the invite, coming on, sitting down, talking, like chatting to you. I mean, I know we, kind of send messages back and forth on Instagram, but it's nice to sit down kind of face to face and talk. And, hopefully, your audience enjoys the podcast. I mean, it's, hopefully they get something out of it, because I can talk forever, man. That's why I have 4 or 5 podcasts.
Yeah. Let me know if you're ever still doing them. I'll come on one of yours, man, anytime.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, if you're ever in town, like you're more than welcome to come into the studio and sit down and
I'd love to
do a show.
Yeah, and if you're ever in New York, feelings mutual.
Oh, and I will be. It's I just it's weird times, like you said, for us. I mean, we're
I know.
If we leave the country now, I think for us it's like we got 2 weeks of isolation coming back in, and it's just not worth it at this point, right? And I mean, it kind of sucks for me for work too, right? So.
Oh yeah, we can't even go to certain states, let alone leaving the country. Like for instance, if I went to Florida, I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks back, and if I came back to New York, you know, it's not. So we
well, Florida's a crazy place, man. Like,
yeah,
it's like, I swear to God, this is one thing. Like, I mean,
yeah.
you know, we look at the States sometimes, you know, as Canadians, and like, it's like, man, like we look at Florida because all our news, it's like this happened in Florida, and this, like, some guy was like eating somebody's face in Florida, or like, what the hell are they doing in Florida, man? Like, it's like a different planet. The heat.
Oh fuck yeah! You know, I've been to Florida a few times. I like it. Like Miami is amazing. You know, it's just not somewhere I'd want to live. It's really not. But sometimes I say to myself, dude, am I ever gonna get out of New York? As much as I do love it, it isn't really the same anymore. You got De Blasio and the mayor, Cuomo too, the governor. They're kind of fucking it up here, and I feel bad for small business owners because they're saying, indoor dining is not going to be open in the winter, and
right.
A lot of people aren't going to make it, and it's they're taking down this once glorious city, you know, and it's really a shame. They want to add speed cameras like everywhere, like about like 2,000 eventually by next year in New York. There's a shit ton in Staten Island. It's just very, very corrupt, and like, you know, the crime rate has gone up, like shootings and just random attacks. It's getting bad because people don't give a fuck anymore. They're saying defund the police. Don't get me wrong, you know, all this movement going on with Black Lives Matter. You know, there's a lot of fucked up things going on with the cops, and you know, they need to, you know, be stopped. But at the same time, you know, this whole, you know, like I said, defund the police. I thought at first, I was like, yeah, you know what, like that's a good idea. But now there's no one out there.
Yeah, it's there's got to be a balance. Is really what I think there is. You know,
exactly.
It's scary to hear about the businesses, because I tell you, one thing I love about New York, man, is I love the, you know, small little corner delis like that. I don't even know what they're called. I just go in and they have great food, and you know, and then, you know, some of the more, you know, other places, like anytime I go to New York, I got to go get a papaya dog. You know,
Hell yeah, dude.
and then there's a steak place on the same street as B&H.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like,
Love that place.
you know, you go in there and it's like they give you a plastic tray and a plastic tumbler. You're like, what kind of steak place is this? But you pay nothing for this steak, and it's like cooked right there, and it's great, man. Like, I love New York for its food. You know, it's and I hope it's all kind of there when I go back. You know, it's
yeah, man.
We'll be back.
Let me know anytime, like when you come through, and we'll definitely we'll you know, reminisce. We'll talk about basically what we're talking about now, but just like, you know, just in person.
Yeah, we'll just do it over a beer. That's all.
Yeah, dude. And I really, you know, it seems like you've had a lot of adventures in your life, and I can't wait to, you know, eventually, you know, be a part of them with you too, man.
Yeah.
I think we will eventually. All right, yo, JD, once again, thank you very much. And all of you for watching. This has been Actually Anything. Good night.